today, right?
Yeah, it was been a long day.
This is going to
Um,
be the most. This is going to be the most laid back review you've ever done.
I am literally laying down.
Well, listen, I appreciate it. I think you were traveling something like 48 hours straight, something crazy like that.
uh, Not that bad. I ended up working the night before, so then I traveled all day today, and then by the time I got up here, it was like 36 hours or some crap. I've been up, so I'm a little exhausted, but hey, it is what it is.
Well, I
Yeah.
appreciate you hanging tough. We had you. I don't know where in the world you found this distribution that we both have tried out this week.
I found it
Blank
on
on. I
distro.
mean,
I was just saying
one
you
word.
can blame it on me. I I found this one on distro watch. I was going through and just kind of, I mean, we got what 350 supposedly active distributions. So I was looking at it and I'm like, for those that want to know what it's called BlankOn. It's one word.
One word.
Um, this distro is just from looking at it, it is essentially everything I love about Debian because it gives and yes, according to the distro watch page, it's still in active development. I caveat that because I doubt that. Um, and that has more to do with certain aspects of it's based on Debian testing, so it's always rolling, which is great, which is what I want in a Debian distro. And nobody does that, which annoys the hell out of me. Um, so the interface was a little bit different, was like the default settings. And that's what interested me the most. Um, for some reason, I can only find stuff that is only skin deep.
I know. Well, and you know what? I had high hopes because when I first launched in, I really liked the application panel on the left, and I've got a screenshot of that. So I was very hopeful. And then you've got a panel at the bottom, and I thought, wow, I like this combination. This looks pretty good at first boot. But then I ran into some other issues which were hardware related. And then I started digging deeper. Now, did you go back and look at the kernel? I've got some notes here. Did you see what version of kernel this is running?
It was still running a 3 series. That's all I remember. I think it was like 314, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm showing 3.10.
Is that
So,
that after the update?
oh well, see, I couldn't do the update because this was like reliving the Linux days from 10 years ago. This was a Dell system, a hybrid Dell system with pretty standard hardware, nothing crazy, and I can run just about anything that's within the last year on this and detect the hardware and everything, no problem. But my Wi-Fi would not pick up. I don't know what's going on with my camera there. My Wi-Fi card wouldn't work. My sound card wouldn't work. My touchpad wouldn't work. I mean, so I could plug in a little USB mouse and move around and check it out and dig around. But beyond that, so,
Well,
so I never did an
okay.
update. I didn't want to spend the time with getting the drivers set up and all that. I mean, after I got so deep into it, but you go ahead and share your experience.
For those that want to know, if you are used to the GNOME 3 way of doing things, category view is not something that is easily found anymore. There's ways to have it, but it's kind of not a good way of it being done. So if you're used to the more traditional menu breakdown of how things are from, say, GNOME 2, system tools go in the systems tab, et cetera, et cetera. This does that in a different kind of way where it takes the activities tab that you would normally get if you hit the super key or the meta key or go up to the activities corner, and it slides out a broken down list of essentially in GNOME 2 style your applications for you. It's categorized that is what really caught my interest. Obviously it's got Plank and a few other things going with it too. I think it's Plank anyway. I'm not 100% sure on that one. I couldn't really find any info on that one. I was able to get it to work, unlike you, for some reason. Yep. I think it's because my hardware is older, because that particular ProBook is still, I think, it's that weird first gen i-series, last gen Core 2 transition. Okay. But the Wi-Fi worked. Everything worked for me anyway. The only thing that didn't work was the 2-finger scrolling, which is kind of annoying on a clickpad, not gonna lie. I don't like going back to the old synaptic corner stuff. It's just not my thing. So for me, my experience was it worked. The biggest thing I found that didn't work for me was every time I plugged and unplugged, my screen dimmed regardless. So like normally when you plug in, screen brightness goes up. Not in this case. You plug in, it goes down. You unplug, it goes down. I'm like, so it always perpetually thinks it's running on battery. What I found was one thing digging around. I was looking at what version of GNOME this is actually running. 3.10.
What version?
3.10 is what the desktop UI is based off.
Okay. Well,
put that into context. We are now on GNOME 3.2.2.
Yeah. I couldn't find that, but I did, and I'm going to back up on the kernel. I'm showing actually kernel 3.12.9. So I think that's what you had said earlier. So, and if there are viewers just now joining us, we're talking about a distribution called BlankOn, and this is version 9. And for me, it's like it's stuck in 2014. So, and I think, is that when it was released? 2014, the last release?
The last release that I see, because I thought it was Debian testing. You think it's rolling essentially because Debian testing is always changing.
Right.
Not the case, because I did the upgrades. The server still works for the upgrades, but they don't use the Ubuntu servers. So essentially, this is like this would be like installing 14.04.
Yep, pretty much. And
with a better, I was going to say, this would be installing 14.04 with a better UI.
I liked the interface. Like I said, when I first loaded up and I looked at the panel on the left, and maybe I should share my screen here. Let's do that just a minute.
I would, but I'm not currently on it, so.
No, I got you. I'm going to share the screen here. Well, let's see if this works.
Oh, meta.
Yeah, let's stop that. All right. So anyway, most people are going to be able to find images if they're interested, but I think after this review, nobody's going to be interested. So we probably don't have to worry about it. But anyway, there was an application panel on the left, and I really liked the idea behind the application panel. It got out of your way when you didn't need it, and it was fairly easy to navigate. And then I realized, I knew that there was like a plank at the bottom, or I had seen in the screenshots a plank at the bottom, but I wasn't sure how to activate that. So I found out when you right-click on an application, you can then add to desktop. Well, you're not actually adding it to the desktop. You're actually adding it to a plank. And the plank would grow as you were adding applications. And then I thought, okay, this is cool. But the problem is you can't do anything once the applications are in the plank. You couldn't go in and rearrange the icons. You couldn't adjust the scrolling. You couldn't adjust the size. You could add them to a plank, and that was it.
That seems to be a shortcoming. One of the other things I noticed is newly installed programs don't populate in the categories. I had to restart X on a few occasions. I did try using this as a running OS, believe it or not.
So you tried it real world?
I tried it real world. I didn't do as much testing on it as I normally would, but it, I downloaded the DEB for Google Chrome, installed it with the GDebi, worked perfectly fine. Now, I will say a lot of the default system tools are a lot better than I've seen in a lot of distros.
Really?
Well, for those that remember our last chit-chat about the last distro that we talked about, I had nothing but complaints about GMAC in the fact of things like GDebi and Synaptic and all that stuff. One of the system tools that is installed by default is GDebi. One of the default things that's installed is VLC. I like a lot of the defaults, right, because they're things that I would use. What I don't like is the fact that, again, it's stuck in 2014, and even after the updates, what I ended up doing was I ended up when you go into Synaptic and tell it to install all the updates and all that jazz, that you can look at what the terminal is running. Expand to see what is actually being pulled down. So I was looking at the version numbers of GNOME and what was getting updated, and that's how I found out. The highest you're going to go, from what I've seen, is GNOME 3.12.
Wow.
And this is supposed to be a testing distro, which I find interestingly strange to that way. Honestly, to me, this is the portions of open source that I like, because we can compare and look at mishmash and throw the things that we like and see what we would like to see in distros. People talk a lot about the perfect distro. For me, if you're going to do a distro, take the control panel settings from Solus or from Deepin, that quick access like that.
Yep.
They're beautiful looking too. I will not deny that. And give me the application launcher that is on this distro.
Yes. I agree.
Because if I have a video on my channel that I talk about it's 5 years old now, but I talked about the Unity UI inconsistencies. And one of my gripes was how, for anybody that knows Unity, there is a way to have categories and all that stuff exposed, but it's not the default. And it's a giant pain in the butt to actually use it. I don't know why it's even there half the time anymore. Because that was the default view, I could happily live in Unity, and I'm using Unity right now. So when I hit the super key and I don't have a categorized version of my applications, it's just one mishmash list of stuff because Canonical can't figure out how to organize things. That bothers me. So when I see a distro like this is able to do it and still make it feel modern, that's the thing.
Right.
Because I don't care. I really don't care for the way things like Deepin and those, they have more it's got that touch UI feel to it. It doesn't conform to the desktop type thing to me.
Right.
So,
well, this application launcher I agree. This application launcher felt like a desktop application launcher. It felt like it was intended to be desktop, not touch. And, it's one of those things. If they could bring the distribution to current kernel and, take it out of 2014 and bring it into 2017, which is fast approaching, with that UI design and everything, I think they're onto something there.
Yeah, I agree, and it's too bad because this is the parts of open source that I hate. When you see good ideas essentially die a death when you can see where they were going with something.
Yep, that's right.
And it sucks.
Well, I'm going to give this one. I'm going to pass, and I hate to say that. I think it would have promise. There's promise there, but I'm going to give this one a pass just because of it being stuck in 2014. And I don't know if that's your take. I guess we'll both agree again.
Yeah, if I'm going to go on a scale, seeing how we seem to want to do scales for this, just because of the UI stuff, though. I know I'm a weird Linux user. I like UI. Oh my god. For me, just on the UI alone, I could probably give this a 4. But because of how old it is stuck at, I can't tell somebody to run this. If you want to see what we're talking about, by all means, burn a disk. I don't know if you can do a VM. I don't do VMs. Not my thing. So you might be able to do a VM ISO of this, and you can see what we're talking about better for yourself. But as a production machine, you can get it to work, but the amount of trouble and the amount of why would you put yourself into that situation makes me question it.
Well, your scale, I'm going to stick to your scale, and I think that was a scale of 1 to 10, and I too am going to give it a 4. I'd love to give it a 6. If it was more modern, updated. I think you could easily give it a 6 if it was updated. But I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to give it a 4, and I'll say the same thing. I'll just say pass this one up unless you're just super interested and curious about it.
Yeah.
Well, man, we're gonna find another unknown distro, a wayward distro or something to check out again. So
that we will.
I can look through the list. We had a few suggestions on the first video, so I'm going to go back and look at that list.
Okay.
And we'll do this again. And next time, man, hopefully you haven't just come off of a straight 36-hour run.
I was going to say, I think my blood has been replaced with caffeine.
I feel like I'm torturing you doing this, man. So,
no, you're good. I'm awake. It's just my body's like, hey, stupid, rest. And I'm just like, nah, I want to go do stuff. Like my mind's hyperactive, but my body's just like, go do nothing, dummy. So, yeah. But yeah, let's look at some of those distros and see what we can find.
All right, we'll be in touch.
All right.
Have a good one.
Yeah, you too, Rob. Later.
Bye-bye.